Happy Sabbath, everyone. I do believe that it's important to be grateful. What do you think? It is important or not? Number one, grateful to be alive. In my job and my position, I understand that that is very important, to be alive. Number two, we have to be grateful because we are here in His church, worshiping Him in a Sabbath day. What else is better than this? I'm grateful to Pastor Janusz because he invited me to be with you today. I'm grateful to my family because without them, it will be impossible for me to be here today. I'm going to quickly present what I do and my family. I am the Trust Services Director for Greater Sydney Conference and North New South Wales Conference. My job is to make you a good steward, so to help you to prepare your will. So it is important to prepare a will because we don't know about the future, only God knows. It doesn't matter if you are of certain age or if you are younger, if you have changed your status from single to married, etc., etc. It is important to prepare a will. And the best thing about this is that our service is free. If you go to a lawyer, he will charge you easily in between $600 or $1,000 for preparing a single will. With us, you can prepare your will for free. So I invite you to, if you don't have a will, to contact the conference, or maybe you can take this QR code and then we can set an appointment and go through everything, prepare your will, and then you will have peace of mind because we serve a God of order, and putting the things in order is something that we have to do. I'm going to talk a bit about myself, if you allow me, because some of you don't know me. So this is my family, and my wife is with me today, Minerva, and then my three kids. The one with the beard in the middle and the girl in front, they are twins. They born in the year 2000. I did it on purpose, my wife and I, so if I lose capacity, at least I can ask, what year we are living today? And then if they say 2026, oh, my son and my daughter, they are 26 years old. Silly thing. And then the little one, we always call the little one, is only 2 years apart of the other two, is Alan. But surprisingly or not, the family grows. And then we have now my daughter Haris and my son Ruben, the twins, married with, that you can see the plus one here, there. And then my son Alan has a girlfriend. So you know that, how life goes that quick. And all of a sudden, we realized, my wife and I, that it's Saturday night and we are alone. I think you've experienced the same, more or less. But it's a joy to see that they are in the Lord's path. At the moment, they will love to be with us today, but they have other appointments in different churches, so they cannot be here with us. Our journey, my wife and I, started years ago. Before being a pastor, I was a lawyer. I was family barrister. I worked during 8 years as a family barrister back in Spain, in the north of Spain. We are from Spain. And yeah, you can tell because the accent is weird. So yes, has to be Spain. And we start our journey, ministerial journey, studying in Cologne in France. So we learned French. And then from there, we started our internship in Madrid. I was there for 2 years in one of the churches in Madrid. And then they moved us to the southeast of Spain. And then we pastored 2 churches in the southeast. And then, less than 2 years after that, they call us to serve the Lord in the publishing house. So I was nominated to be the general manager of our publishing house in Spain, Safalis. We were there in Madrid for another 4 years. And after that, we were called to go to London. So we've served the Lord for Adventist risk management for 7 years in London, or very close to London, St Albans. And then we were called to come to Australia in 2013. And I've served as a pastor of the Wetherill Park Spanish Church for all these years. And then in 2022, I was appointed in this position. So now you know everything. Maybe a half of it is not important, but then you have the whole picture. Today is a special day. Today is the day of the friendship and love, and it depends if you are married or single. It's the day of friendship, or if it's a day of love. Anyways, today is a special day, but I wanted to talk about this subject. But this subject was quite unique. I was walking in this beautiful beach. I don't know if you've been there. Stewart's Point, there is a beach there that is called Grassy Beach. This beach, the good thing about this beach is that you can walk and walk and walk and nobody's around. So if you would like to talk to God in between the nature, that will be perfect. So that's what I do, or I did. I was walking there all the way up that beautiful beach. And I was wrestling with the idea of what I'm gonna talk in my sermon. And I was thinking about ideas but all of a sudden, I've heard, you have been in this relationship with God for a long time, so you know when God is talking to you, right? And God said to me, "Do you love me?" And I've said, "Of course I love you. But I'm worried about the sermon. What are we going to prepare?" And then again, I heard the same. "Do you love me?" Of course I love you. But all of a sudden I realized that there is a text in the Bible where Jesus says, "Do you love me?" And I thought, maybe God is saying to me that I have to talk about this chapter of the Bible. I always trust God. Don't get me wrong, but sometimes you want to double check if this is the right thing to do. So I said to the Lord, "Okay, I think I heard you and that you would like me to talk about this, but I want to be sure that you are the one talking and not myself." So, on my way up the beach, if you can say that, the waves touched my feet. I think it's something normal. It happens when you walk, very close to the water. And so I said to the Lord, if that was you saying, "Do you love me?" on my way back, the waves shouldn't touch my feet. And brothers and sisters, when you start walking and looking at the waves coming your left and you're still walking, look, I walked straight. Not waving, otherwise you're deceiving yourself, right? Straight. And when you're walking 5 meters, you are like, But 10 meters, and you start thinking, maybe it's a coincidence. When you are going more than 100 meters and the waves are close but never touching your feet, you know that God is talking to you. So I immediately stopped. I sat there, I took my phone, and I started texting myself like, "This is the message. Do you love me?" And all of a sudden, I started looking at different things in my phone. That happens to you, or is only myself? That you are looking for something and then all of a sudden you get distracted? I was distracted, completely distracted. And then a wave splashed me. And I heard God saying, we were talking. Would you like to see Jesus face to face? Who would like that? And the question is, are you ready for that? Oh, I'm only thinking about that and I must start, I'm moved. How would see Jesus face to face? What are you going to say? Probably nothing. Probably nothing. Just, it is difficult to verbalize the moment. Do you love Jesus? Do you love Jesus? Or is simply a person that you respect, a personage in the Bible that you like, but love, Pastor, love, I'm not sure. For me, context is everything in the Bible. Without the context, you are losing the essence of the message, the purpose of the words, the meaning of the passage. So today we are going to study John 21. If you have your Bibles, I invite you to be with me and follow this beautiful chapter 21. Verse 1. After this, Jesus revealed himself again to the disciples by the Sea of Tiberias, and he revealed himself in this way. And when you're reading, it's like, what way? What kind of way? What is this way? We will see that we're about to see that Jesus not only gives his disciples a new lesson, but also teaches Peter something deeply personal, yet essential for fulfilling his mission. Verse 2, who are they? Simon Peter, Thomas called the twin, Nathanael from Cana of Galilee, the sons of Zebedee, and two others of his disciples were together. And I think of this group as a little orchestra, not because of different instruments, but different personalities. There is Peter, the impulsive, the dynamic and action-driven one. Then there is Thomas, the skeptical one who needs a lot of evidence to believe. In contrast, we have Nathanael, the true Israelite, a man of sincerity. And then we have these two men, the sons of Zebedee, James and John, who once reacted so passionately that they've wanted to call fire down from heaven to destroy a Samaritan village that rejected them. But that it comes verse 3. Simon Peter said to them, I'm going fishing. They said to him, we will go with you. They went out and got into the boat, and that night they caught what? What? Nothing. I believe Peter's words, I'm going fishing, carry a tone of sadness. What do you think? Think about the circumstances. They have been following Jesus. Jesus passed away. They've seen Jesus again, but it seems like Jesus is gone for good until the second coming. But it's sad to see these people that were with Jesus, preaching and listening to Jesus, now they're going back to where? To their own job. It seems like they had a beautiful dream, but the dream is finished. Let's back to reality. But they caught nothing. And those years with the Messiah, traveling through the villages and cities of Judea had been extraordinary. The days had been exhausting at times, so many sick people to heal, so many crowds to attend, but how could they forget the miracles they had witnessed with their own eyes? The short phrase, "I'm going fishing," feels like Peter saying, that chapter is over. The unforgettable experience of hearing the Master's words of eternal truth, seem to belong to the past. Honestly, we all sailed in the boat of frustration at some point, working tirelessly, but seeing no results. They fish nothing. But let's remember a crucial spiritual principle today. God uses the failure of the night to contrast it with the success of the morning's miracle. There are times in life when it seems like we are catching nothing. We are experts in life, but we are catching zero. They were experts. It is impossible that you forget how to fish after 3 years and a half, but they caught nothing. But after the night, morning always comes. And the most incredible moment happens in dawn. Verse 4 says, just as the day was breaking, Jesus stood on the shore, yet the disciples did not know that it was Jesus. Seriously? They cannot recognize Jesus? What happened here? What is going on? They've been with Jesus all this time and now they don't recognize Jesus? Let's see the scene. They are tired, they've worked the whole night, and now a person more than 100 meters afar is standing there, and you don't know that that is Jesus. It can happen. That person is Jesus. Now, notice how Jesus enters the conversation with gentleness and care. He asks a question whose answer he already knows, but he wants them to acknowledge it. Verse 5, Jesus said to them, "Children, do you have any fish?" At least one. Do you have any fish? Jesus asked in a way that expects a negative answer. In today's terms, if we read the original, he might have said, "Guys, you don't have anything to eat with the bread, do you?" That was the question. And they answered honestly, no. Put the drama in this scene. We are not talking face to face. Jesus is shouting to them that they are 100 meters apart. And they say, no. Verse 6, he said to them, "Cast the net on the right side of the boat and you will find," I like the sense of humor of Jesus, huh? Some. You will find some. So they cast it, and now they were not able to hold it because of the what? The quantity of fish. And we've read the Bible, immediately we think about another miraculous moment. The same people in Luke chapter 4, that net was breaking because of the weight of everything that they caught. But now the net is not breaking. And when you see this miracle, then it's normal that the next verse comes up. Let's read it. The disciple whom Jesus loved therefore said to Peter, "It is the Lord." It is the Lord. Because this is a miracle. Because his tone of voice, because the way he talks, he is our Lord, our Master. How many of you've been fishermen? Can I see your hands? Good. Think about this. Jesus is saying, cast the net on your right side. What was the right side? Why they didn't recognize Jesus? When you are looking at a person and behind that person the sun is kicking, can you see the person? No. But that's the scene. That's the context. Jesus is talking to them, but they can see clearly them. He can see clearly them, but they cannot see him clearly. But he speaks, and when he speaks, he says, throw your net on your right side. What side was that one? The side where the sun was kicking. And if you have been a fisherman, you know that that's not the place you have to throw the net, because fish are fish, but they are not stupid. They see the net, so they are not going there. But it's interesting that Jesus says the right side. But the right side was the side of Jesus. Not the darkest side, the bright side. I'm only excited here. It's amazing. It's amazing that Jesus is saying, my side is the right one. You will see if you throw in my side, how many fishes? Some. You will catch some. And they couldn't pull it out because it was too heavy. Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. And then Peter was so excited that he put all the clothes on top and then jumped to see Jesus. And that was Peter. Normally when we jump to the water, we take our clothes or majority of the clothes, but he did the opposite because he respected Jesus. He respected that much Jesus. And then he put the outgarments and then he jumped. And he was swimming 100 meters in no time. It's amazing. And then we can find then verses 9 to 11, when they landed, they saw a fire of burning coals there with fish on it and some bread. This is the first time Jesus is providing the breakfast to the disciples. And we have to end up almost all the Gospel of John. So Simon Peter climbed back into the boat and dragged the net ashore. It was full of large fish, 153, but even with so many, the net was not torn. What was the size of the fish? Small, large, big, small, which ones? Large. 100 meters from the shore, 100 meters from the shore, large. And all of them, they were large. You are fishermen. You know that when you cast the net, you will fish everything. Big ones, small ones, that's normal. But the miracle, and that's why John said, is the Lord, it's because of the nature of the miracle. All big fishes. We have no time to explain why 153, but somebody finds a symbolism in the number, but let's note that they were large fish only. And statistically, that's near impossible. That's a miracle. All right, now that we have the context, let's go and read the passage. All right, it says, when they had finished eating, Jesus said to Simon Peter, Simon, son of John, do you love me more than this? Yes, Lord, he said, you know that I love you. Jesus said, feed my lambs. And again, Jesus said, Simon, son of John, do you love me? And he answered, yes, Lord, you know that I love you. And Jesus said, take care of my sheep. And the third time he said to him, Simon, son of John, do you love me? And Peter was hurt because Jesus asked him the third time, do you love me? And he said, Lord, you know all things. You know that I love you. Jesus said, feed my sheep. How many times you've listened this story from here, from the pulpit? How many times you've read this text? Why is Jesus asking 3 times? I'm sure he had no problems with audition. Why? Some people say, because Peter denied him 3 times, now 3 times Jesus is trying to convince himself that Peter has changed. Despite that there is some understanding on that reasoning, this is not what the text is saying. Are you ready to discover something amazing in your Bibles? Yes? Okay. It is interesting to note that Simon Peter, along with the other disciples, had been called to apostolic ministry after a miraculous catch of fish, as we read in Luke 5. And it was only after the Lord took control of the fishing operation that the net broke, and then he invited them to become fishers of men. And we are all quick to judge Simon Peter, who seemingly lost the privilege of carrying out that apostolic ministry before a charcoal fire in the high priest's courtyard on the night Jesus was arrested. Peter made the mistake of his life by entering there to warm himself. He should not have gone to that place, but he did. And there he denied knowing and following Jesus. By the way, this is for another sermon, but there was no crowd. The crowd, you say? The animal? Yeah, there was no. That was impossible in that time. It refers to a trumpet that it was sound at that time. But the name of that trumpet is the same like the animal. That's why. That time is where the Romans said that that's the moment where it breaks the dawn and starts the day. And they call it the same way because it's when the crowd do his, yes. But that's for another sermon. Now we're going to discover something amazing. You know, the Bible talks about love, but what kind of love is this? In the Koine Greek, Koine means common, in which John wrote this gospel, there were at least 5 different words to define love. Philautia, the love one feels for oneself. Storge, the love felt for a family member, the love parents feel for their children, and vice versa. Eros, the love symbolizing sensual desire, but in reality, it is a degradation of the word love. According to the Greek mythology, Eros was the Greek god responsible for sexual attraction. His Roman equivalent was, today you should know it, Cupid. But it's interesting to see that Eros, this word, was never used in the text of the Holy Scriptures. Never, ever. Number 4, philia. The love, the affection one feels for friends. It is a spontaneous love driven by emotion. It is a tender and devoted love, but not absolute. Words like philanthropy or Philadelphia, which in Revelation refers to the city of the brotherly love, derive from this word. This word, philia, was used in the biblical text. But then it comes the last one, the word agape. This was the highest and noblest form of love. A love governed by principles rather than emotions. A love without reservations, with complete and unconditional devotion to the beloved person. And this is the word used to describe God's love. And when the Lord Jesus was speaking to Simon Peter, he did not use storge or philia, but agape. So this dialogue between Jesus and Peter reminds us that salvation is a relationship about love. Honestly speaking, if I had the opportunity to choose a supreme word to define Christianity, I would have chosen the word faith or hope. But as much as we might think that faith is the appropriate word to define Christianity, the Bible itself gives us the correct answer. The Apostle Paul reminds us in 1 Corinthians 13:13, and now these three remain. Do you remember the text? Faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is, and in the Bible says, agape. Let's come back to our text. What it says there. When they had finished breakfast, Jesus said to Simon Peter, Simon, son of John, do you love me more than this? And he said to him, yes, Lord, you know that I love you. And he said to him, feed my lambs. Do you love me more than this? Why is that question? Do you remember Peter in the higher room, in the upper room? He always thought that he was the one, the chosen, the perfect, the one that he would give the life for his master. I don't need to wash my feet. Oh, but if you don't do that, you won't be part of, with me. Oh, then the whole thing. That kind of character, that was Peter. But it's interesting that Jesus is testing him, that if right now he still believes that he is better than the others. But we will discover something very interesting here. Jesus said to Simon Peter, do you love me? And he said, Phileo se, I like you. I appreciate you. In my flaws, in my human flesh, I care about you. But he didn't say, I love you. And then Jesus said, feed my lambs. Some people think that there is always more or less the same, the three questions and the three recommendations from Jesus. But it's not. What is a lamb? What is the difference in between a lamb and a sheep? Right. So what is saying here Jesus? Jesus is saying, help the young to grow, feed them. Okay. Second question. Simon, son of John, do you love me? Then now Jesus realized that that thing about being better than the others is gone. Then again, he's repeating, do you love me? And when we read in our English version, we read, yes, Lord, you know that I love you, but the text in Greek says, you know that I like you. Again. He said to him, tend my sheep. And that's a very good principle for our churches. We tend to discipline our youth and teaching our adults. But the Bible is saying here that you have to feed the youth and discipline the adults. And the Sabbath school lesson of this day, or this week, we've discovered that it's important to be a good role model. So for that, you have to discipline you, the others, yourself. But the youth, instead of discipline, you have to nurture them. That's the principle of Jesus in that moment. All right, third question. He said to him the third time, Simon, son of John, do you love me? And that's interesting now. Why? Peter says, Peter was grieved because he said to him the third time, do you love me? Seriously? Why? Why is that he was grieved? And he said, Lord, you know everything. You know that I love you. Is it? Or probably Peter could say, I say it twice. Do you want a third time? No, it's because we are missing that Greek. But that's amazing. Do you love Jesus? Do you love Jesus? I'm going to show you the master of the communication, the master of understanding our nature, our human nature. Our coach, our trainer, our master is going this way. Simon, son of John, do you like me? And now he's using philia. Jesus is not using anymore, do you love me? In that sense, agape, but philia. Jesus is going from this level to the level of Peter. And he's saying, okay, do you like me? And that's why Peter was grieved, because the third time, Jesus didn't say, do you love me? But now it's going down, it's going, do you like me? And that's why the answer from Peter is, Lord, you know everything. You know that I like you. But I don't know if you notice those answers from Peter. And my question for today, and I'm going to close this sermon, it happens to us as well. Can we say with all our heart, I love you? Or because of our nature as sinners, we feel that we don't qualify to say to Jesus, I love you. And we go like Peter, recognizing his mistakes, his failures. He says, I would like to say I love you, but I can't. But Jesus then go and say, do you like me then? And he said, yes, you know that I like you. I love our Jesus. I love the way he approaches a person that in that time he felt like he was the worst. The worst. He felt when Jesus looked at him at that time when he denied him 3 times. And he couldn't look at the face of Jesus and say, I love you, because I'm a failure. But I like Jesus restoring that disciple for the mission. And that's what he says, feed my sheep. Mix both. Feed my lamb, tend my sheep, feed my sheep. You can do it. You can be a fisher of men. That's the message of Jesus. Our relationship is not gone. We've been friends forever. I like you. I love you too. That's amazing. I would like to say that one day we can say, when Jesus is looking at us, Lord, you know everything. Even today, even this night when you go home and you go sleep, you can say to the Lord, Lord, you know everything. But it will be so nice to comfort our souls to say, you know that I love you. The conclusion for this sermon is simple. Changing from philia, like you, to agape, love you, is emotionally equivalent to moving from the shore to deeper waters. And being able not only to care about the flock, but as Jesus told Peter after the first miraculous catch of fish, to become a true fisher of men. He's reinstating Peter as a fisher of men. It doesn't matter your failures. If you love me, everything is possible. There are several lessons from this passage. Number one, Jesus forgives us just as he forgave Peter. Even if we fall, we can rise again and do great things for him. What do you think? Is it possible? Oh, sure. Let's not give up. Peter was giving up, but he realized that going fishing, the result was nothing. Nothing. I'm an expert of fishing and I fish zero. Yes, because your mission is another one. So sometimes we are living in this world trying to fish things that they are not important for us. They are not necessary. You will catch zero. But Jesus is saying to you, I reinstate you to the mission. You are precious to me. I want you to continue with this mission. The second idea of this sermon is that there is a cost to discipleship. Like Simon Peter, we must understand that following Jesus means loving him and loving him as a price. If we want to achieve great things for him, that price is often even greater. And the third thing, we should always remember that the ultimate test for every person today, no matter their position or circumstances, is the same question Jesus asked Simon Peter and that we reflected today. Do you love me? May this story inspire us to live in the light of his love, trusting that each new dawn brings new opportunities to serve him and to glorify him by serving others. So may the Lord bless you abundantly, and that you can say every day, Lord, I love you. I know that sometimes you feel like you cannot say, I love you. That it seems like easier to say, I like you. But the only question from Jesus is, do you love me? God bless you.